Money has a way of turning family into strangers. I learned this truth on a Tuesday afternoon, staring at my laptop screen while my coffee grew cold beside me. The numbers didn't lie. $50,000, gone. Just like that. I'm Delilah, and until 10 minutes ago, I thought I had my life figured out. The joint savings account Nathan and I built over 12 years of marriage was supposed to be Lucas's college fund. Now it's just a string of red numbers and unauthorized withdrawals. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, trembling slightly as I scrolled through the transaction history. Each withdrawal felt like a knife twisting deeper into my chest. 3 separate transfers, all to the same unknown account, all within the past month. Mom, can you help me with my science project? Lucas's voice floated down from upstairs, innocent and unaware that his future was evaporating with each revelation on my screen. Just a minute, sweetheart. My voice remained steady, a miracle considering the hurricane brewing inside me. I clicked through to another statement, hoping to find some explanation that wouldn't destroy everything I thought I knew about my husband. My phone buzzed. Nathan's face appeared on the screen, his usual charming smile now seeming like a mask I'd been too blind to see through. I let it ring. Everything okay down there? Lucas appeared at the bottom of the stairs, clutching his project materials. His dark eyes, so much like his father's, watched me with that perceptive gaze that sometimes made me forget he was only 10. Of course. I forced a smile, closing the laptop. Show me what you're working on. As Lucas spread his solar system model across the dining room table, my phone buzzed again. This time it was Megan, Nathan's sister. Her timing was suspicious. It always was. She had a way of inserting herself into our lives at precisely the wrong moments. Aunt Megan's calling, Lucas noted, carefully positioning Jupiter in its orbit. She'll leave a message. I focused on helping him attach the rings around Saturn, but my mind kept circling back to those transactions. Nathan had been spending more time with Megan lately, talking about some investment opportunities she'd discovered. I dismissed my concerns, trusted his judgment. Fool me once. The doorbell rang, startling us both. Through the front window, I spotted Megan's Mercedes in our driveway, its presence as unwelcome as a storm cloud at a picnic. Lucas, why don't you take your project upstairs? I need to talk to Aunt Megan. He gathered his planets slowly, reading the tension in my voice. Is something wrong? Nothing for you to worry about. I kissed the top of his head, watching him disappear upstairs before opening the door. Megan burst in like she owned the place, designer purse swinging from her arm. Why aren't you answering your phone? Nathan's been trying to reach you. Funny you should mention Nathan. I closed the door quietly, conscious of Lucas upstairs. I've just been looking at our bank statements. Something flickered across Megan's perfectly made-up face. Surprise? Fear? Before she composed herself. Oh? And? $50,000, Megan. Gone. I stepped closer, lowering my voice. Want to tell me about this amazing investment opportunity you've been discussing with my husband? She laughed, but it didn't reach her eyes. Delilah, you're being dramatic. Nathan knows what he's doing. It's a temporary situation. Get out. The words came out soft but sharp. Excuse me? Get out of my house. I opened the door. And tell my husband he better have a damn good explanation when he gets home. After she left, I stood in the silence of my living room, listening to Lucas humming upstairs as he worked on his project. $50,000. Our safety net, Lucas's future, my trust, all vanished in a series of digital transactions. My phone buzzed again. Nathan. This time, I answered. We need to talk, I said before he could speak. Delilah, I can explain everything. Yes, I cut him off. My voice as cold as the coffee I'd left forgotten on my desk. You will. The front door opened at exactly 7:43. I knew because I'd been watching the clock since 6, sitting in the darkness of our living room, waiting. Nathan's footsteps hesitated in the entryway. He must have noticed the absence of dinner smells, the unusual quiet. Delilah? His voice carried that familiar note of charm, the one that had gotten him out of trouble so many times before. Why are you sitting in the dark? I reached over and switched on the lamp. The bank statements lay spread across the coffee table like evidence at a crime scene. Sit down. He loosened his tie, trying to read my expression. Listen, about those calls. $50,000, Nathan. The words tasted like acid. Were you ever going to tell me, or did you think I wouldn't notice? His face did something complicated. Surprise melting into guilt, then shifting to defensive anger. It's not what you think. Megan found this investment opportunity. Stop. I stood up, my hands shaking. Don't you dare blame your sister for this. You made those transfers. You took our son's college fund. It's temporary. He stepped closer, hands raised like he was approaching a wild animal. The returns are guaranteed. In 3 months, we'll have double. Double nothing is still nothing. I pushed the latest statement toward him. The account you transferred to doesn't exist anymore. Did you know that? Color drained from his face. That's impossible. Megan says a lot of things. I crossed my arms, fighting the urge to scream. While you were busy playing investor, I called the bank. They're launching a fraud investigation. You did what? His charm vanished entirely now, replaced by something uglier. You had no right? No right? My laugh sounded strange even to me. It's my name on that account too. My years of savings, our son's future. From upstairs came the soft creak of floorboards. Lucas should have been asleep an hour ago. The thought of him listening to this made my chest ache. I can fix this, Nathan insisted, running his hands through his hair. Megan has connections. She knows how to spend other people's money. I picked up my phone, showing him the photos I'd taken earlier. Your sister bought a new Mercedes last week. Funny timing, don't you think? That's different. She got a bonus at work. She got fired 3 months ago. The words hung in the air between us. Greg told me this afternoon. She's been lying to everyone. Nathan sank onto the couch, his world visibly crumbling. No, there has to be some mistake. The only mistake was trusting either of you. I moved toward the stairs, needing to check on Lucas. I've already frozen the remaining accounts. Whatever scheme you and Megan cooked up, it's over. Delilah, wait. He grabbed my arm. We can work this out. For Lucas, I jerked away. Don't you dare use our son as a shield, not after what you've done. Mom? Lucas's voice drifted down from the top of the stairs. Is everything okay? Everything's fine, sweetheart. I forced my voice to stay steady. Go back to bed. Nathan stood, straightening his tie like armor. I should talk to Megan, get this sorted out. Of course you should. I headed up the stairs. Run to your sister. It's what you always do. That's not fair. Neither is stealing from your own child. I paused, looking back at him. When you come home tomorrow, bring answers. Real ones. Or don't come home at all. After tucking Lucas back into bed and assuring him everything was fine, another lie to add to the growing pile, I sat in the hallway, listening to Nathan's car start up and drive away. My phone buzzed with a text from Evelyn. Are you all right? Nathan just called, sounding upset. I stared at the message, wondering how much she knew about her daughter's schemes. How many other families had Megan destroyed with her promises of easy money? Another text arrived, this one from Greg. We need to talk. About Megan. And the money. I saved his number, a plan already forming. If Megan wanted to play games with other people's lives, she was about to learn she wasn't the only one who knew how to keep secrets. Greg chose the diner on the edge of town, far from the usual places where family might spot us. I found him in a corner booth, his suit wrinkled, tie loosened, a man who hadn't slept well in days. You look like hell, I said, sliding into the seat across from him. You should see my bank account. He pushed a folder across the table. 3 months of statements, different account, same story. Inside were transfer records that mirrored my own, large sums vanishing into phantom investments. But these numbers were bigger, much bigger. 200,000? My coffee cup froze halfway to my lips. Greg, how? Inheritance from my father. His laugh was hollow. Megan convinced me it was just sitting there, doing nothing, said she had inside information about a tech startup. The waitress appeared with coffee refills. We sat in silence until she left, both staring at the damning papers between us. Nathan doesn't know, does he? Greg asked. About my situation? Nathan doesn't know much these days. I traced the rim of my cup. He's still defending her, thinks this is all some misunderstanding. It's not. Greg leaned forward, lowering his voice. Last week I followed her to a meeting, not with investors, with a gambling addiction counselor. She missed the appointment, went shopping instead. My phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. Where are you? We need to talk. I ignored it. How long has this been going on? The gambling? Years, probably. But the stealing? Greg rubbed his face. I found old accounts, Delilah, other families, other investments. She's been doing this since before we were married. The diner's fluorescent lights suddenly felt too bright, the air too thin. Why are you telling me this? Because you're the only one who might help me stop her. He pulled out another document, a police report. I tried going to the authorities. She convinced them I authorized everything, even showed them signed papers. Did you sign them? No. His hands clenched, but they look real enough. My phone buzzed again. Megan this time. Family dinner tonight. Mother insists. Don't make things difficult. She's planning something, I said, showing Greg the message. Your wife never arranges family dinners unless she wants an audience. Then maybe it's time she had one. Greg's expression hardened. I have more documents at home, records of where the money really went, casino receipts, luxury purchases, all while she claimed to be investing our savings. The waitress returned with our check. As I reached for my wallet, Greg stopped me. There's something else. He hesitated. Megan's been talking to Lucas's school, asking about his college fund, claiming to be handling the family's educational planning. The world tilted sideways. She what? The school called me by mistake, thinking I was Nathan. They mentioned scholarship opportunities she was exploring, ways to restructure his educational savings. My hands shook as I pulled out my phone, this time to call the school. The administrator confirmed everything. Megan had visited twice, presenting herself as Lucas's financial advisor. I'll kill her, I whispered, ending the call. If she touches my son's future. We need to be smarter than that. Greg's voice was steady. I have a plan, but you'll have to trust me, and we'll need help. Another text buzzed through. Evelyn asking if I was coming to dinner. Sweet, trusting Evelyn, who still believed her daughter could do no wrong. What kind of help? I asked, already knowing the answer. Your mother-in-law sits on 3 charity boards. She has connections, influence. If she knew the truth about where her daughter's donations really came from. I stared at the documents between us, thinking of Lucas, of Nathan's blind loyalty, of Megan's perfectly crafted lies. She'll never believe us without proof. Then let's give her proof. Greg gathered the papers. Tonight, at dinner, in front of everyone. My phone lit up one final time. Nathan again. Please come home. We can fix this. I typed back 3 words. See you tonight. Looking up at Greg, I nodded. Let's end this. The family dinner invitation felt like a summons to an execution. Mine or Megan's, I wasn't sure yet. I spent the afternoon in my office, staring at Greg's documents while my colleagues buzzed around me like nothing had changed. My phone lit up with a message from an unknown number. Photos. My stomach dropped as I opened them. Nathan and Megan entering a lawyer's office together. Yesterday's timestamp. Another photo. Them leaving an hour later, Megan clutching a thick envelope. A text followed. Thought you should know. E. Evelyn. Of course she had people watching her own children. I'd underestimated her all these years. My desk phone rang. Lucas's school. Again. Mrs. Parker, we wanted to confirm the transfer paperwork submitted this morning. My grip tightened on the receiver. What transfer paperwork? For Lucas's withdrawal. The forms indicate he'll be changing schools next month. They're signed by both parents, but protocol requires verbal confirmation. The room tilted sideways. I steadied myself against the desk. I never signed anything. Silence crackled over the line. The signatures appear legitimate. Perhaps you should discuss this with your husband. I hung up, hands shaking. My computer pinged, an email from Greg with more documents attached. Bank records showing Megan had opened accounts in 3 different states. A pattern emerged. Gain trust, secure investments, vanish, repeat. Nathan's name appeared on several transfers. Not just recent ones. He knew. He'd always known. My office door opened. Speaking of devils, Megan stood there in designer clothes that probably cost more than what she'd stolen from us. We need to talk, she said, closing the door behind her. About tonight's dinner. I minimized Greg's email. I'm busy. Too busy to discuss Lucas's future? She perched on the edge of my desk, all calculated casualness. Nathan tells me you're being difficult about the investment opportunity. Difficult? I looked up at her, really looked. The perfect makeup couldn't hide the tension around her eyes, the slight tremor in her manicured hands. Is that what you call protecting my son from theft? Family helps family, Delilah. Her voice hardened. Nathan understands that. Why can't you? Does Greg understand? About the gambling? The other families you've stolen from? She flinched, barely noticeable, but there. I don't know what you think you know. I know about the lawyer's office yesterday. I showed her Evelyn's photos. I know about the transfer papers for Lucas's school. Tell me, did you forge my signature or did Nathan do it for you? You're making a mistake. She stood, smoothing her skirt. Tonight's dinner isn't just dinner. Mother's announcing changes to her will. Family loyalty matters more than ever. The threat hung between us, clear as crystal. Play along or lose everything. You know what's interesting about fraud investigations? I kept my voice level. They love paper trails, records, patterns. Are you threatening me? No? I smiled, channeling her own practiced casualness. I'm promising you something. Whatever you and Nathan are planning, it ends now, or everyone learns the truth, starting with Evelyn, tonight. She laughed, but fear flickered in her eyes. You destroy this family over money. You already did that. I turned back to my computer. See you at dinner, Megan. After she left, I called Greg. Change of plans. We move now, not tonight. What happened? They're trying to transfer Lucas to another school, and Evelyn's changing her will. Silence, then. Check your email. One last document came through. You need to see this before we do anything. I opened the attachment. A trust fund statement in Lucas's name, established by Nathan and Megan 3 years ago. Empty now. They hadn't just stolen his college fund. They'd been planning this for years. My phone buzzed. Nathan, taking Lucas to Mom's early. Meet us there? I stared at the message, ice spreading through my veins. They weren't just after money anymore. They wanted my son. Greg, I said into the phone, how quickly can you get to Evelyn's house? 20 minutes. Why? Because I'm done waiting for dinner. Evelyn's house loomed ahead, all Victorian grandeur and manicured gardens. Greg's car was already parked out front, but Nathan's wasn't. My hands gripped the steering wheel tighter as I pulled into the driveway. The front door opened before I reached it. Evelyn stood there, elegant as always, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. Lucas isn't here, she said before I could ask. Nathan called. They're running late. Running. The word hit like a punch. Did he say where they were? The school, I believe. Something about paperwork. She studied my face. You didn't know? I pushed past her into the house, pulling out my phone. Greg appeared from the study, holding a stack of documents. Show her, I said to him. Everything. Evelyn's confusion shifted to concern as Greg laid out the evidence on her antique dining table. Bank statements, forged documents, photos of Megan's secret meetings. Mother. Megan's voice cut through the room. She stood in the doorway, perfectly poised despite the storm brewing around her. Don't let them poison you against me. Explain the other families? Greg's voice was ice. The ones before us? Or should we start with Lucas's empty trust fund? Color drained from Evelyn's face. What trust fund? My phone buzzed. A text from Nathan. Taking Lucas to dinner first, don't worry. They're not at the school, I said, showing them the message. He's lying, again. Megan stepped forward, reaching for the documents. This is ridiculous. Mother, they're trying to manipulate you before the will reading. The will? Evelyn's laugh was bitter. You think this is about money? She walked to her desk, pulled out a folder. I changed my will last month, left everything to Lucas, in a trust, one that neither of his parents can touch. The silence that followed was deafening. Megan's perfect mask cracked. You knew? She whispered. I've always known. Evelyn's voice trembled. About the gambling, the stolen money. I thought if I protected Lucas's inheritance, it would force you both to stop. My phone buzzed again. An email from the school principal. Nathan had withdrawn Lucas an hour ago. Destination, unknown. The room spun, They're running, with my son. Greg was already on his phone, speaking rapidly to someone. Evelyn gripped the back of a chair, her knuckles white. Megan, she said, where would Nathan take him? I don't. Megan's composure crumbled entirely. The airport, maybe? We have tickets, just in case. In case what? I advanced on her. In case your latest scheme fell apart? In case the truth came out? In case we needed options. She backed away. It wasn't supposed to be like this. Nathan was just supposed to convince you to invest more. Keep the money flowing until what? Greg's voice cut through her excuses. Until you'd bled us all dry? My phone lit up again. A photo from Nathan. Lucas asleep in the backseat of the car. The message below it froze my blood. He's safer with family who understand loyalty. Evelyn read the message over my shoulder. Without a word, she walked to her safe, opened it, and pulled out a phone I'd never seen before. I didn't want to believe it would come to this, she said, dialing a number. Detective Morris, it's time. Megan's face went ash-white. Mother, no. Years ago, Evelyn continued, ignoring her daughter's plea, I hired someone to watch my children, to document everything, every transaction, every lie. She looked at Megan, every victim. My phone buzzed one final time. An alert from my banking app. Another transfer initiated, the last of our savings. They're going to take everything, I realized, unless we stop them now. Greg's hand found mine, squeezed once. We will. Evelyn hung up the phone, her voice steel. Detective Morris has units tracking Nathan's car, but we need to move fast. She looked at Megan. Unless you'd like to tell us where your brother's really taking my grandson? Megan sank into a chair, mascara tracking down her cheeks. I can't. Then I hope you're ready for what comes next, I said, heading for the door, because I'm done playing family. Detective Morris's voice crackled over the speaker. We've located Nathan's car at Marina Point. No sign of them yet. I gripped the passenger seat as Greg sped through traffic, Evelyn's SUV following close behind. Marina Point, where Nathan proposed 12 years ago, where we'd taken Lucas for his first boat ride. He's playing games, I said, checking my phone again. No new messages, just that last photo of Lucas sleeping. He wants me to remember the good times. Or he's trying to distract us. Greg's knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. Megan always said they had a backup plan, something about their father's old property. My phone rang. Nathan. Where is he? I demanded. Safe. His voice was eerily calm. Which is more than I can say for our savings. Did you really think freezing the accounts would stop us? Us. The word tasted bitter. You and your sister against your own son? I'm protecting him, from you, from your lies. A pause. Check your email. New message, video footage from our home security camera. Me and Greg meeting in secret, planning, talking about evidence. Looks suspicious, doesn't it? Nathan's voice hardened. The grieving wife, conspiring with her brother-in-law. What would Lucas think? You bastard? Language, dear. Lucas can hear you. My heart stopped. Put him on. Mom? Lucas's voice was small, confused. Dad says we're going on a trip, but I don't want... The call cut off. Greg cursed, swerving around a slow car. They're not at the marina. It's another trick. My phone buzzed again. An email from our bank. Account closed. Transfer complete. They've taken everything. My voice sounded distant, hollow. The last of our savings, Lucas's college fund, Delilah. Greg's tone changed. Look. Nathan's car sat empty in the marina parking lot, driver's door open. On the passenger seat, Lucas's backpack. Detective Morris's cruiser pulled up beside us, lights flashing. We've got officers searching the docks. No boats have left in the last hour. I grabbed Lucas's backpack, hands shaking. Inside, his phone, turned off, his favorite book, a note in Nathan's handwriting. Remember our first sailing lesson? The boathouse, I breathed. The private one where he kept his father's old sailboat. Greg was already moving, but Evelyn's voice stopped us. Wait. She stood by her car, holding her phone. Megan just texted. Says if we involve the police, we'll never see Lucas again. Detective Morris stepped forward. Mrs. Parker, we can... No. I handed him Lucas's backpack. They're watching. They'll run if they see uniforms. Then what's your plan? Evelyn asked. My phone lit up with another message. A photo of Lucas on a boat, not at the marina, but somewhere else. Somewhere with trees reflecting in dark water. The lake house, Greg said suddenly. Their father's property. It's only accessible by water. That's 40 minutes from here, Detective Morris protested. Then we better hurry. I turned to Evelyn. Keep Megan talking. Make her think we're still searching the marina. And the police? I met Detective Morris's eyes. Give us an hour. After that, I couldn't finish. Greg and I ran to his car. As we pulled away, another message arrived. A video. Lucas sitting between Nathan and Megan on a boat, forcing a smile as Nathan pointed the camera at him. Wave to Mom, Nathan's voice said. Tell her about our adventure. Lucas's eyes met the camera, and for a second I saw fear. Real fear. Mom, he said carefully, remember when you taught me about chess? About thinking 3 moves ahead? The video cut off. Chess, Greg muttered. What's that supposed to mean? But I understood. Lucas's message wasn't for me. It was a warning. Nathan and Megan weren't running. They were setting a trap. My phone buzzed one final time. Nathan again. Coming to the lake house would be a mistake. But you will anyway, won't you? For Lucas. For revenge. Choose wisely. Greg glanced at me. We're walking into a trap. Yes, I said, watching the sun sink toward the horizon. We are. Because sometimes the only way to win is to spring the trap, to let them think they've broken you completely, even if, in the end, they have. The lake house emerged from the darkness like a forgotten memory, its windows glowing amber against the night. Greg cut the headlights as we approached, gravel crunching under the tires. Their car's here, he whispered, and Megan's. A figure moved past a window, Nathan pacing. Through another, I caught a glimpse of Lucas sitting at the kitchen table, head bent over what looked like homework, playing normal like this was just another family evening. My phone vibrated. Evelyn, police are 20 minutes out. Megan suspects nothing. Ready? Greg asked, checking his phone, the recording app active, catching every sound. I nodded, stepping out into the cold air. The lake stretched behind the house like black glass, reflecting nothing. Nathan opened the door before we reached it. Right on time. His smile was all wrong. Lucas, look who's here. Lucas's head snapped up, relief flooding his face before Megan's hand landed on his shoulder, keeping him seated. Family reunion, she said, her perfect makeup unable to hide the strain around her eyes. How sweet. Where's the money, Megan? Greg's voice was ice. Safe. She squeezed Lucas's shoulder. Unlike some things. Mom, Lucas said carefully, I finished my math homework. All the numbers add up now. Nathan frowned. What? The numbers? I cut in, understanding Lucas's message. Like the offshore account numbers in your father's old files? The ones you thought Evelyn didn't know about? Megan's composure cracked. What files? The ones Detective Morris is reviewing right now. I stepped forward. Every transaction, every victim, every lie. You're bluffing. But Nathan's charm was slipping. Mother doesn't what? Evelyn's voice rang from the doorway. Know about the gambling debts, the other families you've destroyed? Or how about the real reason your father changed his will before he died? Megan released Lucas, turning pale. You can't prove... The recording app on my phone says otherwise. Greg held up his device. Been running since we arrived, and before that, every conversation for the past week. Lucas suddenly stood, knocking his water glass onto Megan's designer purse. As she jumped back, papers spilled out, bank statements, transfer records. Sorry, Aunt Megan, he said, not sounding sorry at all. Mom taught me chess, remember? Always think ahead. Nathan lunged for the papers, but Greg was faster. In the chaos, Lucas darted away from the table, running to my side. It's over, I said, holding my son close. The police have everything. The offshore accounts, the forged documents, all of it. You don't understand, Nathan's voice cracked. We had no choice. The debts were yours, Megan snapped. Your gambling, your mistakes. I just tried to fix them. By stealing from your own family, Evelyn stepped fully into the room. By destroying your nephew's future, sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. No. Megan grabbed her car keys. This isn't happening. Nathan. But Nathan stood frozen, staring at Lucas. At the son he'd tried to use as leverage. I never meant. I thought I was protecting him. From what? Lucas asked, his voice small but steady. From Mom? Or from knowing what you really are? Red and blue lights flooded the windows. Detective Morris's voice boomed through a megaphone. House is surrounded. Come out with your hands visible. Megan broke first, running for the back door. Greg caught her arm as Nathan sank into a chair, all fight gone. You know what the worst part is? I said, watching my husband crumble. I would have helped you, if you'd just told the truth. Truth. He laughed bitterly. When has this family ever dealt in truth? Starting now, Evelyn said as officers entered the house, whether you like it or not. Lucas pressed closer to my side as the police led Nathan and Megan away. Mom, is it really over? I looked at my son, seeing strength where there used to be innocence. At Greg, who'd risked everything to expose the truth. At Evelyn, who'd finally chosen justice over loyalty. Almost, I said, holding him tighter. But we're going to be okay. Because sometimes revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. Sometimes it's about saving what matters most, even if you have to break everything else to do it. The courthouse steps felt colder than they should in spring. I watched Lucas climb them beside me, his tie slightly crooked, looking more grown up than any 10-year-old should. Ready? I asked. He nodded, glancing at the manila envelope in my hands, the final divorce papers waiting for signatures. Inside, Nathan sat with his lawyer, his once charming smile replaced by something more genuine. Regret. Real regret, finally. Megan's seat beside him was empty. She'd taken a plea deal last week, trading information about other victims for a lighter sentence. Lucas. Nathan stood as we approached. I didn't think. I wanted to come, Lucas said, straightening his tie. Mom said it was my choice. Greg arrived with Evelyn, carrying more documents. The restoration agreements, the victim compensation forms, the price of betrayal, measured in dollars and cents. Before we start, Nathan said, there's something you should know. He pulled out an old leather journal. Dad's records, the complete ones. There are more accounts, more victims than Megan admitted to. Evelyn took the journal, her hands trembling slightly. You had this all along? I thought I was protecting the family legacy. His laugh was hollow. Some legacy. The proceedings moved quickly after that. Signatures, statements. The formal dissolution of promises once thought unbreakable. Through it all, Lucas watched, taking everything in with those observant eyes. There's one more thing, I said when it was done. From my bag, I withdrew a chess set, the one Lucas and I used to play with. This belongs to you now. Nathan stared at it, understanding dawning. The game you taught him. About thinking ahead. About consequences, Lucas corrected, touching one of the pieces. About protecting what matters. The door opened, and Detective Morris entered with more files, more evidence, more families to contact and compensate. It never really ends, does it? Greg asked quietly. No, Evelyn said, still holding her husband's journal. But we can choose how we face it. Nathan stood to leave, pausing beside Lucas. I'm sorry, he said. Not just for the money, for forgetting what family really means. Lucas looked up at his father, then at me. Mom says forgiveness is earned, not given. Smart woman, your mother? Nathan managed a sad smile. Maybe someday. He left before finishing the thought, shoulders bent under the weight of consequences finally faced. Outside, spring sun warmed the courthouse steps. Lucas ran ahead to where Greg waited by the car, leaving me with Evelyn. I have a confession, she said, opening the journal. I knew about Nathan's gambling, years ago. I thought if I just gave him enough chances. We all wanted to believe in second chances. And now? I watched Lucas showing Greg his newly straightened tie, proud of this small achievement. Now we believe in first steps instead. My phone buzzed. A text from the bank. The recovery of funds had begun. Not everything, but enough. Enough to start over. He'll try to come back, Evelyn said. When he served his time, made amends. Nathan was always good at comebacks. Maybe. I touched the chess piece in my pocket. The queen I'd kept. But this time we'll be ready. All of us. Lucas called from the car, eager to get to his chess club meeting. Some things hadn't changed. Some things never should. You know what the hardest part is? I told Evelyn as we walked toward the car. Realizing that revenge wasn't what I really wanted. Justice wasn't even enough. What was it then? I watched Lucas arrange his chess pieces on the car's back seat, planning his next game, his next move. Always thinking ahead now. Truth, I said. Just truth. Everything else follows from there. Evelyn squeezed my hand, understanding in her eyes. And the legacy? The family name? We'll build a new one. I smiled, feeling lighter than I had in months. One choice at a time. Because sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. Sometimes it's about getting free and teaching your children to do the same.